Have you ever looked at nature from, say, an engineering perspective? I mean, really looked at it? Today, we're going to do just that. We're going to explore three beings that seem totally separate, but as you'll see, they might just be part of a single incredible system. So you've got a bee, a flower, and a jar of honey. Seems pretty simple, right? We see them as different things. But what if they're not separate at all? What if they're actually perfectly calibrated components in one single, brilliantly designed system? Well, that's the idea we're diving into. All right, so any good system is made up of components, and each one has a very specific job. Let's start our deconstruction with component number one, the flower. Now, you should think of it as part power station and part, believe it or not, advertising agency. So let's check out the specs on this thing. First, it produces this high-energy fuel we call nectar. Second, it creates this essential cargo, pollen. And get this, it's got a killer marketing strategy, using these incredible colors and scents to basically put up a giant sign that says, "Hey, open for business." It's a perfect little factory. Okay, but here's where it gets a little weird. We've got this little factory that seems to be operating with some serious intelligence. But how? I mean, it's a plant. It doesn't have a brain. There's no CEO in a corner office. So how in the world does it know to do any of this stuff? Let's break this down a bit. It is a scientific fact that the sugar in its nectar is the perfect chemical mix for a bee's energy needs. We can measure that. But here's the paradox. How does the flower know that? It has no consciousness, no lab, no way of knowing chemistry, and yet it behaves with this incredible purpose. It's a real puzzle. Okay, so let's move on to our second component and see how this system starts to connect. Meet the bee. In our engineering model, the bee is like this super efficient, multi-purpose vehicle that just so happens to also be a mobile factory. So the bee's job description is pretty amazing. It's a collector, first off, gathering all that fuel from the flower. Then it's a transporter, moving that vital pollen cargo from one flower to the next, which is totally crucial for the flower's survival. And finally, it's a producer, turning that raw nectar into a brand new product, honey. And this leads us to our second puzzle, which is just as mind-bending as the first. The bee does its job flawlessly, day in and day out. But does it have any clue, any idea at all about the huge ripple effect of its work? I mean, really think about it. Just by doing its thing, flying around, the bee is responsible for the reproduction of countless plants. And by making honey, it's providing food for a totally different species, us. The bee is this critical piece in a system that helps others it will never meet, others it can't even comprehend. It just does its job. And that, of course, brings us to the final component in this whole chain, the one who seems to be the ultimate beneficiary of this entire production line, the human, or as we'd say in engineering, the end user. And this is where it gets really interesting because the system's final product seems perfectly tailored for us. Our sense of taste, our actual taste buds, are designed to react perfectly to the chemical makeup of honey. It's not just sweet, it's like a perfect match. And on top of that, honey is packed with nutritional value and even has proven healing properties. It's almost as if it was made just for us. So we've looked at the flower, the bee, and the human, each as their own separate part. Now, let's do what any good engineer does. Zoom out and see how it all fits together. This isn't just a random collection of parts. It's a fully networked, operational system. The flowchart is actually incredibly simple and elegant. The flower gives to the bee. The bee, in return, helps the flower reproduce. And as a byproduct of that whole interaction, the bee creates honey, which provides for the human. See that? Every step is connected. Every part both gives and receives. It's a perfect loop. And this slingshots us right back to that central mystery. The flower has no idea we exist. The bee has no clue about us either. And yet, the end result of their partnership, honey, is perfectly suited for our biology, from our taste buds right down to ourselves. How is that possible? So, what are we supposed to make of all this? Is this incredibly intricate, flawless system with an outcome that's just perfect for us? Is it all just one giant, unbelievable coincidence? Or does it point to some kind of planning? That's the core question our source material wants us to think about. Now, to try and answer that, the source suggests we look at the nature of the system itself. If it were all just random chance, what would you expect? you'd probably expect to see a lot of chaos, right? But that is not what we find. Not at all. So here's the argument. If you have a bunch of separate, independent forces all doing their own thing, you should get conflict. You should get competition and contradictions, a system that kind of works against itself. But here, we see the complete opposite. We see clear purpose. We see seamless cooperation. We see total harmony. The bee's needs and the flower's needs don't clash. They work together perfectly. And so, according to the source, this is the crucial takeaway, this perfect agreement where every single part works in concert with every other part. It doesn't really suggest multiple random starting points. No, it points toward a single, common source that designed the whole system to work together from the get-go. So, where does all this harmony come from? What's behind it? The source material we're looking at offers a very specific answer, pointing to a single origin and backing it up with specific texts. First, the source points to a verse from the Quran that says the bee's complex behavior isn't its own idea. Instead, it's the result of divine inspiration. You could almost think of this as the programming that allows the bee to carry out its function so perfectly within this larger system. And then, the very next verse, as presented by the source, makes that final connection. It directly links the bee's work to us, the end user, stating that the honey it produces contains healing for people. This ties the bee's inspired action directly to the human benefit we talked about earlier. Now, to explain why this points to a single source, the material brings in another verse. The logic here is that if there were multiple competing creative powers, the universe, just like our little system of the bee and the flower, would eventually fall into chaos and ruin. The harmony we actually see, therefore, is presented as evidence of one unopposed creator. And this all leads to the final, really powerful idea being presented here. This perfect interlocking system that we've just taken apart and analyzed, it's not just some random cool thing in biology. According to the source, it's actually meant to be understood as a sign that this incredible harmony, from the chemistry of nectar all the way to the taste buds on your tongue, isn't an accident, but instead that it was all intentionally designed and ordered by one single creative power. A pretty profound thought to end on, all from just taking a closer look at a bee and a flower.